criteria which sir will be covering today, and I am very happy to welcome him. He is joining us all the way from Illinois, United States of America. I welcome you, sir. It is, I think, 10:30 over there. It is 10:30 p.m. It is 10:30 p.m. over there. I am very happy that sir is joining us at this odd hours of his and making us to get knowledge about this US Baldrige education framework. I welcome you, sir, today.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So I request all the participants to keep their audio and video off. All of you must be in the sessions with audio off and video also off. Please do not disturb the lessons going on. I need all of you to keep your audio and video off. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Welcome you, sir.
Okay. Good. Thank you. So I will begin the presentation. So
Yes.
welcome to everyone on day 2. As Professor Renukaji mentioned, yesterday we started out with the category 1 on leadership. Then Mr. Johnson George gave the overall framework, and Dr. Prakash Tevri gave the category 2 strategic planning. And we flow into the third category, the customer focus, which is one of the very important category. Of course, all categories are important, but the customer, how do we manage the customer? First, find out who the customers are and who is the most important customer, and then take care of them. That will make the survival possible at the institute level. So let me share my presentation with you. And today we will have fair amount of dialogue also and interaction through the chat box. So please help me along as we go so that it's not a one-way conversation. I would like to have some input as we go along, and I'll pause in between several times, get your reaction, input, etc. So we'll go back to the basics of the Baldrige framework for educational excellence. And I will specifically highlight my experience with the category 3, starting from AT&T Bell Labs, dating back to 1990. So almost 30 plus years of experience there. And then we will review the category criteria on customer focus. And then we'll flow into the practical aspects. What is customer satisfaction all about? What's its impact on the bottom line for any organization? We will look at customer satisfaction principles, the underlying simple guidance, which we can learn and effectively manage all our customers. And then we'll focus on how to do the customer delight. And that is through understanding the model voice of the customer, VOC. And we'll also look at some of the examples of the world-class customer service and share several examples from the Baldrige winners. And some of them are from the education sector as well. So back to basics. This is the framework we are all talking about throughout this FDP. Started out with leadership, strategic planning. Those two are done. Overall framework is established yesterday, so we had a great foundation. Today we begin with the customer focus, and after me there are two great resource faculty coming in to talk about measurement analysis and knowledge management. That will be day 2. Day 3, category 5 and 6 will be covered. Day 4, there is a yoga session early morning, followed by 2 faculties at the highest level, 1 vice chancellor, 1 director of the institute, sharing their experience with the Baldrige at their educational institute, so we can see how the Baldrige framework has helped those institutes to do better. And on the very last day, I'll come back on the day 5 to bring in how to use Baldrige Excellence Framework for deploying NEP 2020. And the very last session will be delivered by Dr. Krishna Vedula for how to create excellence in engineering education. So that's the roadmap we are following. Now, items highlighted here, bolded, are the one where I got started in 1990 with AT&T Bell Labs, managing the voice of the customer focus category for international switching business unit, almost $2 billion for that division in those times, and worked with about 6 to 7 leaders from different parts of the organization to help them understand what the criteria are and how do we improve the customer satisfaction for our major product, which was the switching system, electronic switching, 5ESS electronic switch, which is a giant computer which connects the call. And we used to sell these switches all over the world. Ours was the design and development center here in Illinois, and manufacturing was done in the another state, Oklahoma. And we had a number of units all over United States and some places in UK and in Netherlands as well. Now, so that was a hands-on experience for well over 10 years on customer focus. And I joined as a chief judge for Illinois Team Excellence Award. This was a state level award established here using the criteria on customer focus category 3, workforce focus category 5, and the operations focus category 6. So we used to have every year between that window of 93 to 99, somewhere between 25 to 30 organizations, mainly manufacturing, few in the service sector, who would apply for winning the Illinois Team Excellence Award. And we had a series of judges, and I was serving as a chief judge to review those applications with a live presentation in front of the judges. And then those final teams will get a gold, silver, and bronze award from the governor of the state of Illinois. So that was a hands-on, again, experience working with the number of people in different industries, different verticals applying for the award. And basically also included this category here for this FDP and IUCE into Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education. Taught the leadership FDP, where there were 2 modules on Baldrige, including focus on the customer. So that's my specific direct experience on category 3. And of course, for rest of the item, I was coaching various entities on how to put the entire package together for the Baldrige, all 7 categories, and how those categories are interrelated. So none of those categories are standalone. Each one of them sort of is synergistic with the others, and what you do in one category can have an impact on the other categories as well. Now let's focus specifically on what the criteria are for the category 3. So the very first part, we are trying to figure out what the customer expectations are. And in few slides coming up, we'll define who the customers are in the education setting. So we'll get some dialogue going on that. So the challenge is, how do you listen to your customers and determine products and services to meet their needs? So first of all, we need to find out what the customers are looking for. And then we design our services mainly in the education sector to cater to the needs of the customers and mainly the students. But you will be surprised to see there are more than one customers, and we'll review those shortly. Now, part A requires listening to students and other customers. So there are two parts to it. Listen to the current students who are at your institute. And the second aspect is listening to potential students and customers. So for example, if you are in the higher education setting, potential students will be the 11th and 12th graders in the high school who are more likely to join your institute depending on your reputation. And the customers, there could be others. For example, if you are giving adult education, then those adults are also your customers who are coming in to learn something at your institutes. Next, student and other customer satisfaction. So you have to cluster them put them into customer groups and segment your market, and what kind of offerings you are going to do for each of those customer groups and market segment. That's a challenge in this segment of 3.1 customer expectations. When we move to customer engagement, so once we understood what customers are looking for, and then we have to deliver the specific services. And once we have delivered the services, now we have to make sure that those services are received well, serving the purpose and meeting their expectations and the needs of the customer. And that can only happen when you start engaging your customer and build the relationship so that you can figure out whether they are satisfied or dissatisfied, and are they engaged with your organization. So in the first part, program and service offerings will require to find out ways to collect the market requirements. And there are varieties of ways you can do it, and we'll review that shortly. And student and other customer support. So how do you support them when there are issues arising for specific customers like student and other customers? And the second part is student and other customer satisfaction, which will require first to build the relationship, then get their satisfaction, dissatisfaction, and engagement through survey instrument, focus group, having some specific group sessions targeted by market, etc. Then you have to set up a customer complaint management system, make it easy for your customers to give you complaints when they are not happy with your services. And then you have to act on those input you are receiving. And one important thing which we generally don't do, and that's item 4 under B, customer satisfaction relative to competition. So if you are in an area where there are a number of educational institutes and all of them are trying to get the best students to join the institutes, you have a competition at hand. So you have to distinguish yourself and have a very specific set of services you are providing better than your competition. So that needs to be determined through the surveys as well, by asking specifically how well the customer perceive you compared to others who are providing similar services. So how do you distinguish yourself among the pack of other institutes? So this is the foundation for the customer focus. And the key excellence indicators are, we have to proactively capture the voice of the customer. What is customer telling us? And we will discuss the listening post concept. That means there are varieties of ways to listen to the customer. We'll review all of them through the voice of the customer model. We need to gather information on customer desires and marketplace potential. So, for example, the students who are joining your program, what are their specific needs? What they would like to get out of the institute in terms of the branch, the disciplines, and any multidisciplinary things can you offer so that they can have a broader perspective. Listening to current, former, and potential customers. it's very important not only to listen to your current customers, but the former customers. So those are your alumni, and some of the people may have dropped out of your institute. So you want to capture their voice as well. And potential customers, those could be the one in the feeder pipeline from the high school, and collect the actionable information on engagement, satisfaction, and dissatisfaction. And we'll discuss some specific instruments, survey instrument, etc. shortly. Moving on more with key excellence indicator for customer focus. One, as an institute, we need to continue to innovate product and service offering to exceed the expectations of all our customers, and refine and innovate support and constant communication with the customer. We need to be working on building trust, confidence, and loyalty by the customer by providing them outstanding services all the time. And when some issues come up, resolve the complaints promptly and eliminate the root causes of the problem. So those kind of complaints will not reappear again and again and again. So these are the excellence indicator for the customer focus. Now, in this slide, I have listed know your customers, external customers. So one is the highest level of customer, or major customer, students, undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate. Their parents, and since we have people attending from the K through 12 school as well, all of these apply to them. Most of it will apply to them. Parents are also your external customers because they have a lot of influence on their own children, sons and daughters. Now, if you are providing continuing education, the adults are also your customers. If you are providing continuous training for skill building to executive by doing executive training, they are your customers. The industries where you can do consulting projects, as well as industries, are also at the receiving end of your product. The students who graduate, they will be joining the industries. Funding agencies, whether it's the government or private sector, who are funding you to remain in business, that agencies are also your customers. There are regulators at the state and central level. There is accreditation bodies, the NEC, the NBA, then of course Ministry of Education, and if you are moving up, NIRF rating, etc. So you can see here list of so many customers, and first you need to prioritize who are the key customers. That's why I put it in red. Students are your most important key customers. You have internal customers, and this concept is very important to grasp, that the external customers are the one who will keep you in business by giving you resources, real money. But the internal customers are your employees, that is your faculty, the administration, support staff, and parent-teacher committees, which will continue to provide some good guidance. And you need to treat both external customers and internal customers with a lot of care by understanding their needs and requirements. So at this point, I'll stop sharing, and let's take any questions you may have through the chat box. Okay, the numbers have gone up, 63 attendees. Okay, so let's go to the chat box. If you have any comments or questions, let's clarify it before we move forward. And please come in if you have a question. Don't be shy, because only way sometimes to learn is ask a question. And there is a trick to it. Rather than writing too much, stay focused, have a very focused question, put it in the chat box. I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Any quick question, comments so far, what we have covered? so that we can keep clearing the deck for few items at a time. Okay, good morning. What's the parent-teacher committee? Okay, so I'm giving you example from here, both at the school level K through 12, as well as at the university level. There are parent-teacher committees where the parents get heavily involved in providing suggestions, doing some voluntary work to be helping out in the activities for the K through 12 schools as well as at the college or the university level. So there are the additional resources you can tap into, and those parents who have time to get engaged, and particularly I can tell you from my personal experience, the school where both my sons went, they had a number of programs where they would invite experts from different fields to come and share with the students. It was K through 8, special school, private school, and they will have various people, generally the parents, come in and talk about what they are doing at the workplace, so that students get the idea that when they graduate, there are the number of areas where they could actually find the job if that area is of their interest. So that's what I'm talking about, parent-teacher committee. It's an additional resource, and the parents do not look for money. They are willing to give their time and effort to make sure their own children as well as other children benefit from their services. Not everybody will be able to do it, but those who have the capacity, those who have the time, and those who have the inclination will come and help you. So you can think of that as additional resource to tap into. And these are some good practices we need to borrow from around the world so that we can do better at the India scene. Any other quick question? Otherwise, I'm jumping back into my presentation. Thank you for asking that question. Let's go back to the presentation and we'll take the question later. Okay, I'm coming back to the presentation shortly. Please bear with me. Okay, so that was about the external and internal customers. Let's continue the thread. Now, what happened when the Baldrige Award was launched? First set of awards were given out here in the US, mainly in the manufacturing, service, and small business area. So between 1988 to 1991, number of entities received the award as well as a site visit. Now, what happens is, as you heard yesterday from Mr. Johnson George, the way the process works, the entity puts together an application which is submitted along with a nominal fee, and then each of the submitted applications, 65 to 70 pages of write-up covering 7 categories and the profile for the organization, is reviewed by the examiners who are volunteers, and those applications which are looking more promising, getting better reviews from the examiners, they figure out which one they want to go and do the site visit. And during the site visit, for a week, the set of examiners and senior examiner, they come into your entity, your institute, and then they examine each and every item written up in the 65 to 70 pages of the report submitted. and their goal is to verify whatever information is written, is it real or is it only on the paper? And once the site visits are done, these examiners and senior examiners write up the feedback report, and which is delivered to the institutes and the entity where they've gone for a site visit. And out of all those site visits, the top of the line organizations are sort of identified to receive the award at the highest level. Now, this award initially was sponsored and funded by the US government, of course, taxpayers' money. So, US Congress people were asking the question that we have started this National Quality Award framework, and the organizations are winning the award. What is the proof that it is making any impact in a real sense for the companies and entities which have won the award? So a general accounting office is one of the body of the US government. They chartered a committee to look into those 22 companies which received the award or got the site visit. So these are the top line organizations. And they focused on four things about improvement in customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, operational parameter improvement, and ultimately the financial performance of those organizations. Did it improve or did not on those using those four categories? So the data collected by this independent body arm of the government found out that for the customer satisfaction, the slides I'm showing you, they focused on three major metrics on the first column: overall customer satisfaction, customer complaints, and customer retention. Out of 22 companies they were reviewing, 17 of them responded with the data, and column 2 is very important results they found: average annual percentage improvement. For the first metric, 2.5%. And keep in mind, even the 1% improvement sustained year over year, that means a lot. So that was a good indicator. Secondly, customer complaints went down. So in the accounting sense, when you put the bracket around the number, that's a negative number. That means it reduced by 11.6%, and customer retention improved by 1% year over year. And that was the 4 years of data they were looking at: 88, 89, 90, and 1991. Next three columns are just showing that out of 17 responses, the favorable indicators for the first metric was for the 12 entities, unfavorable 0, and no change in the 2, and so on and so forth for the second and third metric. So this is how you read this table. So the most important things are column 1 and 2. Column 1 shows three major metrics one need to focus on from the customer point of view, and column 2 shows the annual improvement in percentages. And as I mentioned, when there's at least even a 1% improvement, that means tremendous impact on the financial side at the end. Now, I'm not showing you any slides about the operations or the employee, and move directly into the financial performance. Out of 22 companies they were reviewing, only 15 companies provided the financial data. So there is always a reluctance to open up the financial book when these kind of studies happen. They want to keep it secret. So here there are four metrics in the column 1: the market share, sales per employee, return on assets, return on sales. Column 2 is very important: average annual percentage improvement. Market share went up significantly, 13.7%. Sales per employee was up by 8.6%. Return on assets, that's the inventory turn. So more you have, better return on assets. That means you are turning over your inventory and making more money along the way, 1.3%. and return on sales was 0.4%, and rest of the three column, as I explained before. So what they found out that not only the customer satisfaction improved for those companies either winning the award or getting a site visit, but their employee satisfaction was up. Also, their operational parameters were moving in the right direction, ultimately leading to the financial performance improvement. And as a result, the study concluded that whatever investment government is doing in managing these awards is worth it, is providing the intended results of improving the productivity from the US side compared to Japan and Germany. Now I want to start laying out some of the basic principles of the voice of the customer. So we'll begin with the simple idea that world over the organizations have figured out, including educational institutes, that if you want to achieve the excellence, you need to focus on three major entities. So first one, we need to delight our customers, and we need to have the process, voice of the customer, listening to the customer to understand their needs and expectations. Then we need to have people who are working within the organization. These are the internal customers. They need to be excited to work on internal processes and continue to improve them. And by having the people, your employees working constantly to improve your internal processes, it will help delight your customers. So if you focus on these three things, what will the outcome? Outcome is your operational performance will be outstanding and your financial performance will automatically be in place. Now let's look at the reality. What do? We always look for the bottom line first. How much money have we made? And I'm talking about generally entities around the world that the finance, how much money have you made at the end of the quarter? That's where people are focused, and that determines the value of your stock for the company, etc. But you need to focus on customers, the processes, and the employees. If you do those well, your finance will fall in place. And I'll share with you the concept of the balance scorecard where these four categories and items are covered. I'll give you one practical example. Here, company called Motorola, some of you may have heard about it. They were the one who started with the two-way radio and then cell phones, etc. So the president and chairman of the board, Robert Galvin, he used to have a monthly four-level meeting. Somebody sending the message. Is the voice not coming through, Santoshi?
Sir, it is there. We are able to hear you, sir.
Yeah, I think individually some people may have the net issues, so they are sending messages and disturbing the flow. So I think if you have individual issue, please do not disturb the proceeding. If you can't hear me or can't see the slide, then do let Santoshi know and he will let me know. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So I was telling you that Robert Galvin, as a president and chairman, he used to have a four-level management meeting once a month. And what he will do is ask the people who are running the meeting to have first item on the agenda, the quality, and then things about the customers, process, and the employees are discussed. Sometimes if he had other prior commitment to meet with the counterpart, the CEOs, he will leave before even the finances are discussed. So people will tell that Robert, and here Robert has a short form called Bob, we have not talked about finance, why are you leaving? He said, I've seen what I wanted to see, that the monthly operations have improved the customer satisfaction, our processes are improving, our employee satisfaction is going up during this window of time, I'm very confident that the finances will fall in place. So that's the kind of leadership you need at the institute level to focus on the right things, focus on customers, focus on improving the processes, focus on exciting your employees by creating pathways to reduce the bureaucracy, empower your faculty and staff to do their function well, and give them all necessary resources. And if we do all of that well, your customers, mainly the students and parents, they'll be delighted and they will give reference for others to join your institute for a long time to come and keep you in operations sustainable way. So that is the basic and essence of the total quality management. Now, a few more principles, customer supplier relationships. So let me share the model first. So I'm sure some of you may have heard about the International Standards Organization, ISO, and that ISO requires the capturing all your major processes using a SIPOC diagram concept. SIPOC stands for supplier, input, process, output, and customers. So you have to identify your major processes you are running at the institute and then capture each one of the process with the help of the people who are running the process and define them and document them in a systematic way. And let me share the concept here. So you take a look at your own institute, put it in the middle in the yellow triangle. You have outside suppliers from whom you receive the input, whether it's software, hardware, books, whatever input you need to manage your work at the institute. They are your outside supplier to whom you pay to receive the input. In order to get the right input, you have to give your requirements to your suppliers first at the front end. And when they give you the input, you need to verify that whatever you requested and whatever you are paying for, you received it as you requested in the time frame you had asked for, and the quality is good, the quantity is correct, and then you send a message to the supplier, everything is good. Now, what happens when sometimes the suppliers may not be giving you 100% quality? Something is not right. At that point, you have to just push it back to your supplier and tell them that, look, I'd given you the requirements, your input is not meeting my requirements, and ask them to fix it rather than you take the suboptimal input, deficient input, and keep wasting time at your institute level to make it work for you. That's your loss because they are already you have already paid the supplier, so they are happy sending you incorrect or incomplete or deficient input. Your customers are not going to pay for whatever extra effort you are doing. You are losing time. So managing your supplier is a very important concept. We don't do well at the institute level or at the organization level, but we do it very well at the individual level. So for example, for your home front, you ordered a dishwasher or a washer or a dryer for clothes. The machine comes and after a month it stops working properly. Then you immediately talk to the supplier, the dealer from whom the machine had come, to ask them to come and fix it or take it back. But we don't do enough of that in the work setting. So keep that in mind. That is very important thing. You need to learn to manage your supplier, teach them what they need to give you because you are paying them. It's not a free or a charity. Likewise, you have external customers who are paying money to keep you in business. So you need to first understand their requirements proactively, use the input you have received, create necessary output. and deliver it to your customers, and then proactively go back to them and gather their feedback. Now, this is the crux of the customer-supplier relationship, very much required by documenting major processes to achieve the standard ISO standard registration for ISO, whether it's the economic, environmental, or social. And this is a good practice to standardize all your processes using this SIPOC approach. And the guidance here is the requirements are key, which will allow you to put some measurements both on the suppliers and understanding customer requirements. You can have the right measurement to measure the way you are giving the satisfaction or not satisfying your customers. On the paper, it looks simple, but it requires tremendous effort to connect the dot between your suppliers and the customers. Now, that was the macro view I just brought up, but at the micro level, within the entity itself, so within your own institute, each one of you are sitting in the middle, and you have a internal supplier person before you from whom you are receiving input, adding your value and creating an output, giving it to the next person in line within the institute, and then giving it to the customer. So there needs to be a lot of cooperation and collaboration to manage that internal supply and the supplier and the customer chain as well. If we do this well, then you are more likely to provide the highest satisfaction to your outside customers, those who are paying you to remain in business. Next, I want to share with you, as a part of the principles, the Kano model for customer satisfaction. Now, this is Professor Kano from Japan. He is a big authority on customer focus, customer centricity, and he shows various levels. So at the level 4, there is an indifference for the product or the service you give. So if you look at the x-axis, whether you have a high quality performance on the right side or on the absence of quality and performance is not there. On the y-axis, high satisfaction, delighting your customers, and on the bottom end of the y-axis, low satisfaction, and people are disgusted with your service or the product. So in the bottom right quadrant, the level 4, indifference. So I'll give you the examples from the aviation side. So when I was a young man, I flew from Bombay at that time to Bhavnagar to go to my hometown of Amreli in Gujarat. In those days, and I'm talking about early 50s, 60s, when you go on a plane, they'll give you candies at that time. And as a young child, you get excited to receive the candies. Nowadays, when you travel, you don't care about it. So that's your level 4. You are indifferent to what they are giving you. Then level 1 is the threshold basic must have. That means the plane should land safely from point A to point B. It is given, otherwise people will not travel on the plane if they are not safe. Level 2 is a linear performance, and this is where when you travel and you have a luggage with you, so when you reach the destination, your luggage arrives at the same time you depart from the airport, from the airplane. And there are some horror stories as well, and I'll give you one. We were going to Lima, Peru in South America for a quality conference. We were 4 families, 4 people who were part of the program for a 2-day quality conference at the global level. 3 of the family received their luggage intact. And in our case, both my wife and my luggage did not show up. So we were missing 2 bags of luggage. So what happened is we just have to register with the airlines and went to the hotel. We were 1 day early before the major conference of 200 people attending. similar to people who have signed up for FDP, if we see all of them. Then the day before the conference started, we just had the bare minimum, whatever we were wearing, no additional formal clothes, no shoes, formal shoes, etc. So literally with the help of a local person who was organizing the conference, we had to go and do a fair amount of shopping very quickly to be ready for the 2 days of conference and be presentable. And then within 24 hours, the luggage was delivered. It came 1 day late. And then after the conference, we had to return the stuff which we had not used. So that's what is expected linear. When the luggage do not come, it can create headache. And the level 3 is the delight. So if you are traveling on an international flight where it's 8 to 15 hours non-stop from US to India, there are 15, 16 hours flights between Chicago to Delhi, then New Jersey directly into Mumbai and other places. It will be nice if the airline can provide a small area where you can work off your stress by sitting on a bicycle, stationary bicycle, to have some exercise, be fresh, etc. That will be a delighter. So as you see, there are various levels by which you can satisfy your customer at a minimum, but delight the customer, make them say, wow, this was some extraordinary experience they are receiving from this particular entity. And then the others will hear about it by word of mouth. And now with social media, you can have influx of customers who are looking to receive similar experience. So that's all about Kano model for customer satisfaction. Various levels, you need to be focusing on finding some exciters and delighters by your services to the customers. I want to share another fundamental principle for customer satisfaction. International Standards Organizations for Economic Growth, 9001, the last updated in 2015. They do this update every 6 to 7 years. Now, the entire process starts with the customer requirement, gathering the requirement, what customers are looking at, and we have to start at the bottom, receive the input, then you create a product or a service, and then provide that output to the customer and measure the customer satisfaction. Once you have measured the satisfaction, you do the analysis of all the data collected from a variety of customers and find out where you are giving them good satisfaction and where you are not satisfying their needs and expectations. So those areas where you are not doing well, you inform your management, and the management will start communicating with the customer at the front end that thank you, we heard your input, and these are the areas where we are not serving you well. So this is our commitment. We'll take those areas where our satisfaction is low by adding more resources, doing further improvement into our products and services, and we'll continue to improve our offerings so that we can satisfy you and ultimately we can delight you. So that's the way this continuous improvement cycle works from the ISO side. And the companies which receive this ISO certification, they are required to upgrade their certification every 3 years. And within that 3 years window, every 6 months, portions of the processes get updated by a third party visit. The auditor come, they check, make sure that the processes are working as documented and people are using the most up-to-date process, not the outdated process as well. Now, I want to bring a concept of balance scorecard. Some of you may have heard about it, but let's review it for the benefit of everybody. Now, the balance scorecard is a tool which you can use to ensure that whatever key strategies you put together and your vision can be achieved through 4 components. You have trying to ensure that your strategy is implemented fully and gives you good results as measured on 4 dimensions. So the first is the customer, second is the employees, third, the processes, and fourth, the finance. Now I'm showing you the indicators. If you serve your customer well, that's a current indicator. But if you build up the capabilities in your employees, and if you continue to improve your processes, those are leading indicators which will have a direct impact on your finances, which is a lagging indicator. So the finance is the one which is the outcome of whatever activity you have done by engaging your employees, using the processes to satisfy and delight your customers. And as a result, you receive the funds. And that is a lagging indicator looking at the rear view of the mirror. And whatever happened in the last quarter, you cannot change those numbers. It's just the data sitting there, gives you the indication whether you made progress or you are going in the wrong direction. So the concept of balance scorecard is very simple. In order to manage your organization well, you need to focus on 4 areas: the customers, the employees, the processes, and the finance. And since it's a balance, each of those category count 25%. And this is your high level dashboard where you are looking at it for the entire organization at the top level. Are you satisfying your customers? Are you taking care of your employees? Are your processes improving? And if you do those things, then your finance will fall in place. Okay, we are going to get into the next segment. So let me stop sharing at this point, and let's come back and take care of few questions if you have any from the chat box. Okay, ISO audit for many years. Yeah, so ISO audit, first you have to get the registration. It's a major audit. Third-party auditors, registrar come in, they review all your processes, they talk to people, they make sure that whatever processes you are using are documented, people are trained, and they are using the most current up-to-date processes under control. Okay, then there is another question. Do you think education systems should be compared to business model? Does Kano model really fit in? Yeah, so the idea, I think as an educator, we have to start looking at the connections. Everything is not given on a silver platter. When we learn from one entity which has done well, and that's what we need to focus on, when the industry does well, we have to find out why they are doing well and what underlying principles and practices we can look at and borrow it to make it work for the educational institute. And that's your contribution. All of you are highly educated. You need to apply your mind to see what can we do by looking at that concept of how they are successful in serving the customer better. What can we do to translate it for the educational institute? And it's a macro management, not micromanagement. We are not giving you everything A to Z, do it this way or do it that way. We are exposing you to the concepts, which if you can figure out how to do it at your education setting, so much power to you. And that's your obligation to do that thinking. So what are the changes done in the Baldrige framework? What are the learnings over the years of implementing this framework? Are there any other frameworks like this? Okay, lots of questions pulled together. So what happens is, as I mentioned, there are a number of people who volunteer to become examiners. Some over the year progress to senior examiner, and then they have a board of judges. So that entire contingent they review the submitted applications in different market segment or different verticals, the manufacturing, service, small business, education, healthcare, non-profit, including government entities. And based on what they are seeing in the application, they provide input to the Baldrige Foundation to make necessary changes of tweaking those criteria year to year. So every 2 years, they update the booklet where the criteria are published, and there are 4 booklets, actually 3 booklets, one for education, one for healthcare, and the another one is common for manufacturing, service, small business, and the non-profits. So 3 different booklets, they get updated. And in general, 90 to 95% of the criteria have remained same. They continue to focus on new things. Like lately, there is a lot more focus on risk management because a lot of entities are failing, including educational institute. And we see that in India, those institutes which are not delivering good quality education, they are shutting down their doors, and the enrollment is also going down in the engineering side. So those are the challenges, and that's why there's a big focus on results and also ensuring that any new things coming up on the horizon is blended into the criteria so they remain up to date. Now, in terms of sort of using this criteria around the world, I made a brief comment yesterday. At the India scene, number of major entities like Tatas, the Birlas, etc., they have adopted this framework in their entities. Tatas was the first one, 1994. They require each of their business unit to use the Baldrige framework. They call it Tata Business Excellence Model, 100% copied from Baldrige. And they've seen tremendous benefit of growth on a sustainable basis for all their business units. And they have trained people internally to become the examiners from various business units. They go out and look at the other units, so there is no conflict of interest, and they provide independent feedback. Using the feedback, all the entities are required to improve. So that's and there are awards at the international and national levels. So I mentioned about the Asia Pacific Global Performance Excellence Award, which uses the Baldrige framework 100%. And there they are looking at all different entities, including education units. And I've been fortunate to review between 2004 to 2017 number of applications from Singapore, Far East, India, etc., in the education sector also, where they try to use the criteria and try to put the application, and we provide the feedback. Those who were worthy of highest recognition were given the award by the Asia Pacific Quality Organization. So that's the answer to your question. This framework has been adopted all over the world. There is a European Foundation for Quality Management, which took the Baldrige, added one more category for their own use, adopted it for the European Union, etc. And the rest of the world has copied it because this is the gold standard put together by the stalwarts like Dr. Deming, Dr. Juran, etc. And over the years, it has been improved and it continues to provide value in different sectors. So I think that's the end of the questions in the chat box. So I'll go back to my presentation. We'll continue to talk through and we'll take more questions at the end. So now I want to share with you a practice which we were doing at AT&T Bell Labs, where I was involved as a voice of the customer manager. And it's a very basic model, voice of the customer. It's a comprehensive systems approach to effectively manage the customer needs and expectations. And The foundation is we need to systematically listen to the multiple customer voices, systematical listening, multiple voices, analyze them, prioritize them, and respond to customer issues in a timely way. So that's the foundation of the voice of the customer model. And it's very simple, 4 components: capture the voice, analyze the voice, respond to what you heard by what you saw by doing the analysis of the voice of the customer, and then verify it back with the customer. So we are going to take a deep dive into each one of those 4 bubbles: the capture, analyze, respond, and verify. Now, the first part is capture, which is focus is what are our customers really saying. So here are a number of ways, and this method shown here is applicable to education, healthcare, government, manufacturing, service, small businesses, everywhere. All you have to do is have a focus to design very specific things for your own needs. And I'm going to be sharing with you very practical examples of customer satisfaction, which I've been using for last 28 years in my classes. And I'll share with you the latest example from the FDP we have delivered to the top leadership all the way to vice chancellor, director, and the principal levels shortly. So the perception survey, you can have a mail survey or telephone survey. Best thing is web-based, because through the web design, you can have a survey put up and then send out a message to your customers that kindly fill in the survey and give them a window, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and gather the input through the web, and then have analysis done to see where you are getting satisfaction, where you are getting dissatisfaction, etc. I'll make some comment about those surveys also very shortly, because it's reactive, not proactive. Secondly, you can design a customer generated report card where actually your customer will design a survey with few items important to them, and they will measure several people, the entities which are providing them services. Third, immediate feedback survey. This is once you have finished an event, you can capture the essence of that event by doing an immediate feedback survey with 3 to 4 simple questions. Did you provide timely service? Did you provide the right service? And while providing that service, did you break anything down? And what was your overall experience? So if you translate it into the product delivery, you are doing 12 deliveries a year. With the 1 or 2 delivery, when you receive these instant feedback surveys, you can learn from it and change your processes so that the remainder of the deliveries will be good. And same thing, you can do it for your institute. You are giving some new innovative course, you get the input from the students who have taken the course, then you use that feedback to improve upon the course before the next offering and continue to provide better offerings as you go forward. Customer forums where you can have a target market segmented by issues. Executive visits with the customers. So I'm talking about highest level of the organization meeting with the highest level of the customer. On-site customer visits, you can bring in people, and this is very applicable. You can showcase your institute with the high school students and their parents. And this is how things work here, at least for in the Western world, that when students are in the final year of high school, the 12th grade, they apply to number of higher level colleges and universities, and then they take a site visit. They go and see the campuses by spending a day at the campus. They go with a parent, either mother or a father or both, and they figure it out what kind of atmosphere is there. Is that the place where they want to spend 4 years, etc. Same thing, The high school students can come and visit your campus, look at how good you are, what different things you are offering, and how is the campus life, etc. Focus group is a qualitative research when you want to find out a little bit more about whether the concept is viable or not. You collect people with specific ideas to sit on a focus group, have some discussion, and then gather the preferences of that focus group attendees. You can have internal database where customer complaints are all compiled together. So when a complaint comes, it can open up a ticket, and that ticket gets a number, and somebody who is expert on that area will address that internally and then give back the solution to the customer. Then you close that ticket only when the customer is satisfied. You can go to trade association events to learn about other entities. So for example, if you go to conferences where other educational institutes are presenting, you can learn about some of their good practices to learn from them. So, and that's where you can get some competitive insight information. You can have some trade journals which will give competitive information, and there are entities available, at least for the work sector in the industry, where you can buy the reports comparing various entities delivering similar products and a service. And that's the industry specific reports by a third party. So these are various ways in which we can capture the voice of the customer. Now, comment about the survey. The survey is a reactive tool, and if we do it once a year, event has happened long time ago and people have forgotten. So what they will do is they will tell you about the very last interaction they had with your product or a service. And even though they may be satisfied for most of the things, if the last interaction was bad, you will get a low rating. So it's too little, too late. We generally don't ask about competitions. We do not segment the customers. That is the customers which are giving you the highest revenue, the people, the high schools which are sending you the largest number of students to come to your institute for higher studies, etc. You are not focusing on them. You are scattered in terms of the response. Generally, this kind of work is done at the very low level in the organization, so higher up management doesn't get involved, and there's no visibility with them. And you are measuring something where the perception is constantly shifting. So you are working on something which is changing constantly. You do not ask the question about pricing, and you do not test your survey tool, and you settle for too small a response rate. So let me give you some practical examples from AT&T experience. So here I'm sharing with you a very simple customer survey where you can ask about very specifically, and you can substitute instead of product a service. What are the features and functions you are delivering, the variety of things you have offered? Was your delivery reliable and accurate? Is the service, whether the people who deliver the service, what was their know-how, how courteous they were, and how responsive they were? And this fits in very nicely in the educational setting. The value is the actual benefit received by the customer. Overall, will they recommend your institute for upcoming students, the potential students? And will they come back if you offer more services even after they graduate as an alumni? If you have a continuing education program, they can come and learn from the alma mater by offering given by the top faculty, and the competition compared to other alternatives, how well you stack up. So these are the simple surveys you need to design. And let me give you some horror story we learned from AT&T. So when I started in 1990, initial set of surveys were conducted internally by the salespeople. And as you know, people in the sales and marketing, they have very good relations with the customers because they wine them and dine them. So they used to get very good feedback on the survey form. But when you look at the customers, their buying behavior, they were not buying the product consistently. So eventually we shifted the survey to the customer technical support area, the back end, where there is an issue. The customer technical support people will go in the field and fix the issues. Ultimately, those things were phased out, and we went to a third party company which was conducting the survey through the web. And this was an international operation, so customers all over the world. A survey was put up on the web, and our vice president managing the voice of the customer will send out a message to counterpart at the customer level, all different entities throughout the world, that the survey is open. There's a 3 weeks window. It's web-based, and have multiple people from your organization who are receiving our products and services should fill it out. And we used to get 100% return, no sampling, consensus, because these are $1 million plus electronic switches we were selling. So if we design the survey properly, we can collect the right data to take action on it. And so let me share with you a very important way to do the survey design, which is an art and a science. In general, you may have seen single dimension surveys, satisfaction only, the x-axis part. What is missing in general is the y-axis. How important was that item from the point of view of the customer himself or herself? So when you ask the question for a given item, whether your service was satisfactory and what was its importance. So if the importance is also asked for a given question along with the satisfaction, you can use this two-dimensional survey analysis where there are 4 quadrants. The importance was very high and satisfaction rating is very high. You are in the top right quadrant, the light blue area. You are doing great work, hold the gains. So that's the message. Now, importance was very high, but your satisfaction you are delivering is low. You are in the pink area, top left, and that is the area you must focus to continue to improve, because customer told you it's very important to them, but you are not giving the right satisfaction. So that's the most important item to focus upon. Bottom right, you're delivering high satisfaction, but it's not important to the customer. You need to reassign the resources from bottom right to top left, because you are doing something, overdoing something which is not needed or necessary. And I'll give you the example. You go to conferences, generally on the survey, people write down the temperature in the room was too hot or too cold, or food was too cold, it was not tasty. Those things have not much meaning compared to the knowledge they are trying to get. Of course, those things adds to the overall satisfaction, but it's the lowest level compared to what actual knowledge needs to be transmitted. And bottom left quadrant, low importance, low satisfaction. You don't have to do much, just maintain the current status. So I hope all of you can recognize when you use a two-dimensional survey, the analysis becomes very simple and easy. And from the customer, from the horse's mouth, the way we say it, the customers have spoken. They are looking for help in the top left quadrant, where their importance for that item was very high, and you are unable to deliver good satisfaction. So that's where you have to put all your money in terms of making further improvement to ensure that your customers will stay with you. Otherwise, they are more likely to go when others can offer similar or better services. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I want to bring in a specific example of a survey we have conducted for the FDP I just mentioned, and I have a file already lined up, so I'll bring it up here very shortly. So here is the survey instrument designed for FDP, for leadership, for NEP 2020 deployment. Okay, as you see here, we keep it to a one-page survey and topics. And as you see here is a two-dimensional survey, importance 1 low, 10 high for all the items, and 4 items on the satisfaction: very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, and very dissatisfied. The reason is, and I'm sure some of you may have done some work in the survey design, a lot of people talk about odd number of things, the Likert scale, 5-point or 7-point scale. Only thing is, when you want specific actions to be taken, you need to go with a even number of rating. So if it is 4 points or 6 points, 3, 4, and 3 against, or 4 points, 2 on the good side, 2 on not on the good side, people will have to take a position. Otherwise, you get a lot of time information in the middle, which you cannot use because people just get the easy way out. They will say, I'm okay with this, neutral in the middle. And so when you want to take action, you need to have a even number of survey scale. So questions were FDP resources. We had 7 sessions, 3 hours each on each Saturday. Session slides, additional resources shared in the Canvas, the learning management system. Special articles for the leadership team. They had to read and discuss and summarize 4 articles, relevant discussion in the class and the interactions. They were assigned, given team assignment per institute on self-assessment for the Baldrige. We'll cover it in the session 13 for all of you. Live will share with you the framework from the Baldrige and community service plan for engaging the students in community service work, topics and new learnings, resource faculties. We had 3 of them. Then knowledge, the clarity of presentation, questions answered. And on the overall basis, FDP matched my expectation, concept applicability in the institute, gain new knowledge, would recommend this FDP to others, and overall FDP for NEP 2020 deployment, and 2 qualitative questions, 1 specific benefit for attending this FDP, and 1 specific comment to improve this FDP. So as you see, if you design your survey well, you are going to get actionable input using that 2-dimensional survey, and that's what we need to do and use our resources wisely. So I'll stop sharing here, and I want to bring in the analysis of the survey, which will give you what we received in terms of the satisfaction from the 16 leaders, vice chancellor, director, deans, and principal levels. So let me share that with you. So as you see here, and I'll make it slightly bigger. I have to move this cursor here. So, okay, I'll take it on this side. So the questions, answers were received from all 16 people. They answered on 4 points. First of all, they answered on the importance weight. 1 was low, 10 was high. Most of the questions, and there were 14 of them, they were between 9 to 9.3. Then items where they gave very satisfied, that's 1, satisfied 2, dissatisfied 3, very dissatisfied 4. Fortunately, it was delivered very well. No dissatisfied or no very dissatisfied. So then you cluster your input, total 16 responses, all of them gave response, so 100% results. Then you cluster the good part 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4 together, take the percentages, and then you create the overall ratio. This is what we learned from Motorola, where they have the fraction satisfier is defined as a quality ratio. So highest you can get is 1. And they define 4 ranges, 0.95 to 1, best in class, 0.9 to 94, very good, 0.8 to 89, acceptable, 0.7 to 79, needs improvement. And using the data, the results from the survey, we figured out the overall quality ratio was 1, best in class. Each one of the attendees gave the input on the positive benefit of attending the FDP, and I'll read just one last item. So use of reflection journal help to align the key learnings, key lessons that I'll implement in my institute, and development of plan to implement the key lessons. The exercise made me revisit the shared resources, search for additional material from the internet, and listen to peers, those are the other 15, about their thought process to understand better the concept taught. So peer learning. This process resulted in some actionable items ready for immediate implementation. This FDP also taught me how to conduct an FDP professionally and effectively. Self-realization is very important for a person to become a better leader, and this FDP provided just that. Ready to implement new lessons learned to derive more self-satisfaction. Thank you. So these are the kind of great outcome and great comments you receive when you deliver everything by designing it properly, take your time to deliver it right, and engage them in the classroom. The points I made during the keynote speech at the inaugural. And then there were comments about making it further improvement. And all of these are important as a part of the analysis. So I'm going to stop sharing this and back to the presentation. And then we'll begin to wrap it up to allow time for the questions. So let me get back to the presentation. So this two-dimensional survey is extremely important. So think about doing this two-dimensional survey, both importance and satisfaction rating. And by the way, the survey design, the first PDF file I shared, I'll be sharing it with Professor Renuka ji, and feel free to share it with everyone so you can benefit from it. And incidentally, I've shared that at the AICTE ATAL Academy, the director who manages this program for the ATAL FDPs. I've shared that survey as well. Now we keep moving. We have collected the data. Now we have to analyze the data. What did we hear? So in customer satisfaction, first thing you have to remember, when you start collecting data or put the satisfaction customer survey process in place, you are raising an expectation that you will do some action on it, not just collect the data. By collecting data, you are not doing any surveys. You have to act on it, because customers will be expecting to hear about what actions are you going to take. So trend analysis is important. You can use the computer to do all segmenting, slicing and dicing your data. Year over year, are you improving or not improving? Your high and low score matters. And by the way, the scale on the survey, 1 to 10 for individual surveys, that's what we settle for the telecom. And if you are getting between anywhere from 1 to 5 on a given question, that means you are in the trouble area. If you receive 9 or 10 on a 10-point scale, you are delighting your customers, and the other points are you are just satisfactory. And you get the satisfaction and dissatisfaction comments, get the competitive information, integrate, prioritize, and try to focus on 2 to 3 areas where you have the lowest level of satisfaction, that means highly dissatisfied, and focus on your top customers where you are getting the large number of students from which high school area, etc., so you can serve them well. Respond part, so you always, people collect the data, some will do the analysis, and then the stream goes out. There's not much focus on responding to what we learn from the customers. So this is where the senior leadership has to step in. And what are we doing with the survey analysis we have just completed? So here you can use the policy deployment to create voice of the customer projects and use the project management backbone to work on those specific voice of the customer project. Using the quality improvement problem solving method, you can use root cause analysis, ask the question why 5 times, find the possible solutions, the countermeasures. If they give the good results, reducing the root cause, you make them permanent, and use the project management to continue to monitor and review the progress. And you need to focus on the product, service, process. All 3 areas needs to be improved. So here I'm sharing with you Florida Power and Light, a public utility company which won the Deming Prize for quality improvement at the process level. Now Deming Prize is very prestigious, coming from Japan, Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers, JUICE. Now focus of that award, the prize is that the entity which has done 4 to 5 years of continuous process improvement, they are eligible to apply. And when they put the application in, again, the set of examiners descend from Japan into the entity. They come and spend a week, and they can ask for any data to back up all the claims you have made instantly. If you cannot supply the information requested, your application is failed and you have to apply again next year. So here is a systematic problem solving method, reason to improve current situation, defining the problem set for the target set for improvement. You do the analysis to identify root causes of the problem, countermeasures we just talked about to reduce the root causes, sustain these results and countermeasures where the root causes have gone down, standardize them to make them permanent, and look for the next problem. So this is a quality improvement story. Why it is a story? In 6 to 7 slides with the graphs and charts, you have to start from the problem and show the solution without writing a single bullet. If you write any bullet, you have killed the story already. And the central idea of the QI story approach is focused on customer and data driven. And this is what I think we can implement to do specific improvement at the institute level. Last item, verify, which we rarely do. How do we tell our customers what we have done and what it will do on their areas of dissatisfaction? So when the analysis is done, areas where we have not given good satisfaction, we need to go back to the customers, tell them we have created specific projects, and those projects, when completed, you inform the customers, the external customers, and then at the next survey, it will get validated whether your satisfaction, your improvement is making a difference to the customers. I'll keep moving. Key voice of the customer metrics. So these were the 2 metrics we were focused upon: CSA, customer satisfaction average, our company score, and the ratio of your score versus the best other vendor score, CVA, customer value added. So if you are at the parity, yours and the competition are at the same level, you are at parity, But if you are better than the competition, when you are pulling away 1.05 or more, and if you are between 0.95 and low, then you are worse than competition. You need to have multiple years of trend analysis of both CSA and CPA as a higher level metric, and also count number of satisfier and dissatisfier comments. Quickly, some research on satisfied and dissatisfied customers. Satisfied customer generally will tell 4 to 6 other people, and they are very forgiving. 96% of dissatisfied customer won't ever complain. However, 90% of dissatisfied won't come back to buy from you or get your services, and they will tell at least 9 other people. 10% will tell 20 or more of people how poorly they were treated and served. And in my case, I tell hundreds and hundreds of people when I don't get good satisfaction from either the product or the service, because as a faculty, I interact with many people. Now, cost of acquiring a new customer is 5 to 7 times more than understanding the current customer's needs and expectation and serve them well. Last 2 items are tongue-in-cheek. When people act as citizens, they will vote with their ballots and get the right people in the positions. And when people act as customers, they will vote with their feet and wallet. They will walk away when they have an option if you are not satisfying them. So here we have a very interesting short 2.5 minutes YouTube on the bad customer service. So let's enjoy that.
No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. And I'll do the crescent rolls, and you do the cranberries. You know I can't cook.
I don't understand. I made a reservation. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of cars.
Double Bacon cheeseburger. It's for a cop.
What's that all about? You gonna spin it now?
No, I was just telling him that so he makes it good.
But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservation.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car.
Don't spit in that cop's burger.
Yeah, thanks.
Roger, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
Give me a liter of cola.
A what?
A liter of cola.
Liter of cola? Do we make liter of cola?
Well, you just order a large farva. I don't want a large farva. I want a liter of cola.
I don't know what that is.
Liter is French for give me some cola before I break loose.
All right, relax.
Okay, I believe you have to fill out a form for that.
No, I'd like my money back now.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. You see, I have to fill out a form and, well, you ate most of it already, so...
I'm sorry. We stopped serving breakfast, but we are on the lunch menu now.
I want breakfast.
Well, you can't have it. We're not serving it.
Mister, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna kick 100% of your...
Is there a problem here?
Hi, I'd like some breakfast. We stopped serving breakfast.
So you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the holding. Anybody can just take them.
So we saw a lot of snippets of bad customer service. So here is, so make sure that we do not deliver bad service to our customers, the students and the parents and others as appropriately. Now, a wonderful book written about 15 keys to world-class customer service. I'll focus on few items color-coded. Your only excuse for being in business is to satisfy your customers. Now, item 5, dissatisfied customers aren't the problem. They are the golden opportunities to learn from their issues and fix your processes. The really demanding customers are platinum opportunities because they care for you and your organization, so they are giving you input. If you listen to them, there's a way to do something about areas where you are not serving them well. Item 7, very important, focus on saving the customer, not saving the sale. That means the person who is receiving the service, you focus on that, not worry about your money for the services you are doing. 10, give your customer a reason to give you honest comments. That's a listening post. To satisfy an unhappy customer, you must add extra value by doing something special for them. And lastly, consistently satisfy your customers. A lot of great ideas. You can customize it, adopt it, adapt it. And as I made a comment, as a faculty, all of you are learned people. You need to take a look at what's happening and what is working in other sectors and then bring it in the education side. A few quick examples. Eastman Chemical Company won the Baldrige in manufacturing in 1993. Between 4 years window, they had 100% shipping reliability. If you can do it for 6 months or a year, it's a miracle. They did it between 89 to 93, consistently 100% shipping. FedEx, they have a service standard of 12 components and they receive 100% rating from the customers. IBM Rochester, they do monthly survey of automatic surveys going with a highly technical company. 97% customer loyalty rating, very, very high. You will be lucky if you get somewhere between 50 to 60%. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company won Baldrige in service twice. 75% of the customer who stay at a Ritz-Carlton, and this from the service side, they will not go back to any other competition, regardless of the price reduction, etc. And when you go back a second time, they will know all your preferences and they will treat you as a queen or a king. There are the educational institute examples from school district K through 12 here in Illinois. Constituent requirements, what the students are looking for: safe and secure environment, well-qualified teachers, world-class education, allow them to participate in the decision-making, treated respectfully and fairly, enhance property values. This is for the homeowners who are paying the taxes to keep the school system going for the public education up to 12th standard and use the taxpayers' funds effectively and efficiently. Data collection approaches, and they collect the right information from the community members. This is one of the big segments they are focusing on as a customer. Richland College in Dallas, Texas, customer focus, target markets, different population, Hispanic, South American, high school student, high school graduates, older adults for continuing education. Customer focus even at the city level. City of Coral Spring in Florida won the Baldrige in nonprofit. Resident satisfaction was 94%, business satisfaction 96%, school learning A grade 86%, AAA bond rating for raising funds to do more capital projects for the city. This is a small company. They have a simple customer complaint process where they receive the input from the customer, ticket is opened, then corrective action investigation is done. Make sure if there is underlying issue, there is a preventing action taken, and finally document, and you close the ticket once the customer says, yes, the problem is solved. This is the one chart I just wanted to quickly take about a minute to explain. American Society for Quality offers certification. I'd say peer recognition going on since 1968. I took one exam, the Certified Quality Engineers CQE. It's a very rigorous exam, 5 hours. multiple choice question, and 80% based on statistics. So when I took the test in December 88, after joining as a member, they were promising 8 weeks for the results. Now these tests were conducted on paper, and there were people sitting from all over the world, and 240 sections of American Society for Quality here in the US. That year, I got my results at the 13th week, shown in the red chart. And I was working at AT&T Bell Labs in the quality area. So I volunteered my service at the ASQ certification board, essentially at the international level, and started using, in a small team, Motorola's cycle time reduction, the lean approach, and AT&T's process improvement method, the Six Sigma approach, combine the two together by doing a big box analysis about the process, why it takes so long, and continue to remove the bottleneck. And within 5 years, we brought it down to 3 weeks. So 13 weeks to 3 weeks, that's a cycle time reduction. And the blue line is the capacity building up. That time quality was at its peak, at its zenith, 2,000 to 6,000 people sitting for the exams over that window. Since the processes were improved and streamlined and tuned up, they did not have to hire more people to process triple the load. This is a classic cycle time reduction chart. If you do this kind of work, management will be happy to give you more funds to do it. He did it in the nonprofit setting where nobody had any incentive, but the department head was very determined. She insisted on getting this improvement done, and I was able to coach them sitting here in Chicago, headquarters in Milwaukee, 90 miles away. So via phone call, we did all the work. It was very well appreciated at the annual conference, written up in the Quality Progress magazine, the flagship magazine from the society. So lots of great references. And as usual, for each of the module, please take a few minutes to write down your 2 key takeaways. Because with the 15 sessions, including the keynote address, if you write down 2 total, you will collect 30 key takeaways, which will help you a lot. And here the takeaways are your commitment for customers. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll pick up the questions through the chat box. Okay, so people who have questions, please keep coming in the chat box. Okay, how do we measure that we are customer focused? So you can use the survey. So I'm not sure each of the institute you are doing the survey with your key customers. If you are not, I gave you sample and a simple example. You can design a simple survey, take those surveys from your current customers and analyze them, find out where you are good at, where you are not good at, and focus on both ends. Where you are good at, you want to maintain the strengths. Where you are not good at, find out why it's happening. You can look at some of the comments which can give you the clue what to improve. What are the parameters we may have to standardize? Yeah, so at your institute level, you need to focus back on your strategic plan. What are the strategies you are working on? What are the things you have essentially committed to for making your organization better every year? And around that, look at the commitment you have made to your customers. What will you be delivering them? Okay, hilarious video, yes, but we can learn the lesson. If we fall in that same trap of ignoring the customers and do our work, it doesn't help the customers, right? Okay, there's a difference between customer service and customer support. Is there a difference? Okay, so support is the people who are doing the service. Service is the outcome. Support is people who are working on it to provide that service to the people. Cost of acquiring new customer 5 to 7 times more than the understanding current customers, so focus more on the present customer satisfaction. Very nice key takeaway. Customer satisfaction is great, but there is a discrepancy between the vision of the organization and customer satisfaction. How do you draw the line? As I made the comment, you have to go back to your vision, mission, and values. And in the values, make sure there is something about serving your customer all the time. And once those things are written up, ensure that your leaders are paying attention to make sure that the people who are providing the service, they are well qualified first, they are given good resources so they continue to upgrade their talent and the knowledge, and they are able to deliver the best services to them. Yeah, okay, communication with customers through video presentation is impressive, great. Yeah, okay, keep writing some key takeaway, at least one. I requested you to write 2, but would love to hear at least one up from most of the people, and we have currently 104 people in the session. Okay, for retaining the customer for a long time, we should focus on customer engagement. Absolutely true. And that's where we need to have building the relationship with them. Constant communication and customer engagement is must. And we just have to reflect on the current situation. Where are we? Are we, first of all, measuring the customer satisfaction? Are we taking any action, or are we just measuring and collecting the data and stopping at that? Customer satisfaction matters, absolutely true. Keep going, key takeaway. We have 6 more minutes to go before my session ends. Yeah, so necessary steps have to be planned and implemented. So when you start your customer satisfaction survey, you need to have an entire game plan thought through. So I'll give you one example. When I was doing my MBA with, I took a course on market research. So we had a VP of market research with a very practical experience teaching that course. It was a 8 weeks course, very focus, about 4 hours every once a week, one of the evenings after work. And we had to do 2 live projects. And when we designed those surveys, we had to think through when the data comes in, how they will be analyzed and what kind of hypotheses we have put in place. And when data comes, all the analyses are performed according to the plan, and then justify or prove or disprove your hypothesis. So it requires a systematic effort. It's not just putting some survey out and then doing no action on it. You have to have a game plan to take the actions. Okay, keep customers always having a positive connection despite differences and any feedback. Yeah, so you will hear and get feedback in all different ways, and it could be positive, it could be negative, but as we saw, negative feedback means more opportunity to improve. So don't get disheartened. Positive, great, you want to maintain it, but negative feedback is also a good way to learn from it, fix the issues so it doesn't keep coming back. Internal customer also matter for success of the organization. Absolutely true. And there is a chain. Internal customers, when taken care of, they'll take care of your external customers, which will delight them, and they will continue to come back to you for more services and keep you in business forever. That's a simple thing which has been proven in all domains. So it's not just specific to industry only. it can apply to education sector very well. Couple of more key takeaway. We have 5 more minutes. Don't be shy. You are here to learn. Customer is the king. Absolutely true. And on that chart, I showed you the balance scorecard. The customer is like God. Then on the employee side is like family. Then on the process side is your physical activity, the health. And finance will remain the same, the money you earn to stay in a comfortable way. Respect the customer, their opinions, and their introspection, and their opinions count. Significance of customer satisfaction with operational and financial performance, good takeaway. Taking feedback from customers, analyze it, very important, and then take action. So just don't collect the data, don't just sit with the analysis, but take action to focus on areas where you are not serving them well. Okay, a couple more. Feedback, important tool for understanding and analyzing customer satisfaction, definitely. And you have to be proactive. Don't wait until things fall apart and people start leaving your organization, both internal customers as well as external customers. How strategic planning is helpful in customer satisfaction. So the comment I made was your strategic plan, there's a vision, mission, and values. So in the value sector, if you, and we will examine 3 simple specific examples in the session number 13, use of Baldrige in education for NEP 2020. Several of those organizations at the higher education institute level here have an item related to customer delight, customer satisfaction. Once that value means that's what you respect and that's how you behave in the organization, everybody is focused on serving the customer. So part of the strategic plan gives you the roadmap and the direction to go after customer satisfaction. Okay, one last key takeaway before we close and back to Renuka ji. One more. And please be alert, try to write down at least your 2 key takeaways for each of the sessions, your experiences from experts from different directions, different fields. They are trying to give their best so that you learn the best. Okay, I don't see any more thing coming. Back to you, Renuka ji. Design your customer survey well and plan will get good results. Yes, strategic planning should consider stakeholders. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm closing all that and back to you, Renuka ji. So you can close out the session.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
very good.
We had a wonderful session from Dr. Manu K. Vora sir on the customer focus. We have, I think, all of us have really understood now that how the customer is an important person or important thing. Customer satisfaction is important for any business to grow or any industry to grow or any institute to have the input. So customer satisfaction is important. Sir covered the different models to understand customer satisfaction. He also talked about who are the internal and external customers, and then what is the meaning of customer survey, how we have to perform the customer survey, the different models again involved in the customer survey. He also talked about the satisfied and dissatisfied customers. So with the different examples, video examples, and his examples in the Baldrige education, using that, how he could find out the customer satisfaction. We are very thankful to you, sir, for giving this wonderful session on customer focus under this US Baldrige education framework. So thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I hope all of you learn the importance of serving the customer, both external and internal. And if you do that well, you are in for a long time. You have to keep serving and remain in business for a long time as an institute to continue to grow, have a sustainable growth, and make impact to help India to do well in the education sector. And all of you are essentially like an architect, molding the young minds to do well by polishing them and showing them what they are capable of doing in real life. So with that, wish you all the best, and we'll reconnect on the 5th day, session 13. I'll be back talking about the use of Baldrige in education framework for NEP 2020 deployment. So hope to see all of you again, and
yes, sir.
We'll reconnect. So with that, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, sir.